Alright folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join us in the beautiful landscape of Scotland, and we're starting this one at the edge of a forest. We're not actually too far from the area we recorded the last video in, but today we've come to document a piece of history that we've seen for years from a distance and always wanted to go over and have a look. And because we were in the near vicinity today, we thought we'll go and explore it and document a piece of history. From the main road between Forfar and Freecombe, you can actually see the wall line of the boundary of this place in the distance. But today we've managed to find a parking spot for the car, and we're on a wee adventure into this madness to see what is here in the lands of Scotland. Today we're joined by Highlander 87, and yeah, it's another fresh bit of history that we've never documented before on the channel. I think some of this forest used to be a quarry. I think there's some big deep holes in certain areas here. But our piece of history is obviously that general direction there, I think. So yeah, we're on a mad adventure folks, let's get into action. So we've now made it on to the next phase of this adventure, and we've made it out the other side of that forest, and we can actually see the ancient historical wonder. There's like a wall in front of us with like a crazy little opening and stuff, and from a distance you can see it. The main road's over at the other side of the water. There's kind of like a boggy water area at the bottom of the hill here, so it's quite a difficult route to navigate to. Look at this, the birds around here must be massive, because the droppings they're leaving behind is just all over here, and they're huge. I'm not even sure what type of bird that is. Oh, Ken, what it is? Geese. 100%. That's from the geese that sit in the fields at night. Their droppings is massive nuggets. And this sort of area there's a lot of Scottish wildlife kicking about. It's amazing what you see when you're out on an adventure. And I can see a flock of birds flying over the top right there as well. Check it out folks, it looks like an ancient estate burial ground right here. Sometimes the character of these old graveyards and cemeteries is just incredible. Often each Scottish estate or mansion house or family, they had their own private burial grounds like this on the estates. Look, here's some geese coming over now. Big flock of them fleeing. Let's get in here and see what history remains, and see if we can see whose burial site this even is. Look at the old iron gate here folks. The structures were incredible back in those days when they built a thing like this.
Quite a lot of people in here.
Wow, it's quite a big cemetery. We'll close the gate again on the way out folks. Wow, look, Robert Scott, does that say there? Seems to be the Scott family on that one. George Sharp. Wow, I often enjoy looking to see when the dates were, and this one here 1805, 1810, and then 1815. So this gentleman, George Sharp here, was superintending the building of the mansion house of Balmadys on 14th of February 1821. He died aged 12 years old, and just think, he was superintending the building of the mansion at that age, whatever that even means. I guess he must have been having some control over the construction, controlling the construction potentially. Often back in the day, like early 1800s, they had different words and different phrases, different ways of expressing things. Look at the interesting, intricate cast iron work here around the grave. Fully decorative and constructed to the finest, highest quality. Wow, I love the shapes and the way they did things back at that time. Each part unique. And look at the way this chain is constructed, it's so cool. It's often the small details in a place like that just blow you away when you look a wee bit closer at the history. The detail, the cast iron work and the chain, or the stories of the individuals that lay within these places. I can see snowdrops growing throughout the ground here, and that's cool to see. That's the sign of springtime on the horizon here folks. Snowdrop season. Some of these graves, they look really old. It's hard to even read them because they're so old. Some estates also used to have burial grounds for their pets and their horses. It's so cool to come and document a historical place like this though, never seen before on the channel. It looks like it says William, but it's really hard to see the end of it.
Looks like this one's been kept clean.
Oh, aye, look. It says born 26th of May 1812. John Moody of Pitmoys. And that is the local estate. This must be the burial ground potentially for that estate. Yeah, died in 1876, folks. It does show somebody is maintaining it and caring for it. There's no moss or stuff growing on the letters.
Historic and Sheriff of Dundee.
Oh, historic and sheriff. Is that though potentially the maker of the headstone, or? I'm not sure if they would put that on there. It's hard to know.
Yeah.
There's so many snowdrops in this one area. It's incredible to see. I can see another wall line leading over that side. Places like this, folks, they're just constructed. This one's in the middle of a field, but we have documented other similar burial sites, like on Lure Hill, Lure Estate, where we're up at the tower, and then also other ones over the years. It's cool to compare them and to see the differences with the estates. This one has got a real high amount of burial grounds, burial sites I should say, within the burial grounds. Wow, look at these ones, folks. Incredible. These ones are quite narrow and like thin. You would think the weather would have taken its toll on them. Look at this, it's got the old skull at the top. What is the year on this? 16. Oh, is it 1694?
Yeah.
He died the 12th. So this is an interesting detail, folks. This is an ancient gravestone here. It says he died the 12th of September. 16. I keep saying 1824, folks, but I'm saying 1624. Think how long ago that is. Or would it be 1694? I think that's maybe 1694.
No, yeah, it's 1694.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting, sometimes on the camera when you look at the footage back, it's easier to actually read what this sort of stuff's saying. Like 1625 and things like that. To the human eye looking at the stone, it's difficult to decipher it. And each of these is an ancient stone. And it's amazing just to see the way they used to write them. Yeah, under the ground. The grass and greenery's grown up over it over the years. They're in such great condition for the age of them. If you're thinking about that, like the 1600s, that's from the eras of some of the castles that we visit. Like if you think about this, Flemington Castle wasn't even built when this stone was put in, which is a total madness. Or it was like a pretty new castle at that time. And just think what's gone on in the lands around here since that stone was laid. It's just incredible history. This one here, like 1746. Imagine what the people were wearing back then at the graveside. And so much has gone on in the lands of Scotland since that time, since the 1600s and things. Battles and wars. Soldiers riding past here on horseback, most likely, on their way to and from battle. Family members of this estate, most likely in the battles. Often the estate owners were military, kind of involved with the military, or sometimes they were officers and things in the militaries as well. This is interesting to see all the different variation. 1887. And then look at the ironwork here, the way it's braced into the lower wall with this strap. And then look at the top of here, it is just crazy to see it. The shape of the ironwork and the difference between the castings and the metalwork of this era compared to the other ones at the far side. That's what I love to see, folks, the construction. Even the way they've carved the stones originally, you can still see the chisel marks leading over them. Next to the gate, look, it's also got these like urn shapes, which are also incredibly detailed. Over the years, the weather actually does chip away at the metalwork and the real fine details can go missing, and it's the same with some of the stone carvings, some of the old headstones. These ones look like some real ancient headstones as well. Look at the carvings at the bottom.
Yeah, look, this one's got the same, but it's got an extra one.
Yeah, each of those, I've actually got a book that I got from AKR, and it describes what each of these symbols means. Each of these symbols has its own definition, and it's related to life and death, I believe. The stone carvings of the era. That one's got a scythe.
Yeah, I can't clearly see any dates.
Wow, folks, what a scene of history. Yeah, the dates and stuff is often really hard to decipher. Sometimes if I review the footage, it's like, oh, it's clear. But when I'm looking at this with my eye, I can't see it. It definitely says Robert, son of Baldemise or something like that. Aye, it will be a Pearson, right enough. Wow, what a place, folks. Ancient history of Scotland. First time documenting it on the channel, and when I saw this place from a distance, I thought it's cool to come and tell the story of history that's hidden within it, and tell the story of Scottish history on estates, how they've all got their own little burial ground. This one constructed in the field. Oh, a wee footbridge. I think it looks like there's a house at the far end, but down there it's like there's been either something constructed or dumped.
To cross the river again, we've been crossing the road.
Yeah, they maybe had a wee bridge too. It's like there's two separate waterways there, side by side. Sometimes they did crazy things for mills, like a couple of miles further down the way. They would often put a lane in way high up, so they got a good pressure of water flowing down to the mill, and that can be the evidence you see if you get two waterways side by side like that. And I think there is big mills at the bottom of that next to the main road, and that could explain that. And there was so much done for those mills, not just the building of the mill, but like miles of groundworks all the way up the valley. And that's been cool to remember that on today's video as well. What a scene of springtime with the snowdrop covered lands, and then to find this history hidden within it. It's so cool to come out to places you've never been and see historical details you've never seen. And look, a wee stone like this was maybe a child or whatever, maybe a newborn. Sometimes people died super young back in those days, before there was so much like medical aid. Like that gentleman in the far corner, 12. Again, he was obviously of high status, even when he was that age.
It was Alexander Pearson, that's his son.
Archibald.
Archibald Pearson, son to Mr. Alexander Pearson.
Yeah. And that's like, those are some of the old stones, the way they used to carve the letters back then. Look at this one, 1763. This is quite good because it's got no moss on it. John Pearson. So here's an interesting historical detail, like the J is actually drawn like an I back at that time, because that's James. And then look, John, and on each of the carvings it's like the way we would do the capital I these days. But then maybe there was a lot of Latin and other influences back at this time. Yeah. Oh, what a place, folks. There is a few gravestones to tell that story, the history. It's been mad just to see what we've seen. Look at this wee entranceway. It's crazy, like the character of even the gate or this big stone.
Here since the 1600s then.
I think potentially, yeah. This wall has probably been here since the first graves.
Yeah.
Wow. And you might think, oh, it's not a very fancy grave to have inside such an enclosure, but if you think about it, nobody would have probably even had a headstone back in the 1600s, apart from people like this, the rich aristocracy of Great Britain. And wow, what an adventure. The way these trees and stuff are growing out of there. It's got so much character. And I think often there'd be cows and sheep and stuff grazing in this field, and you probably wouldn't even be able to get to the abandoned wonder. So it's been cool today, we've managed to do it. And now we need to kind of make our way back out of here. Check out, folks, this is actually the route we came over. We've just come back out of the field. But this is a bit I didn't record on the way in. There's all these old tracks going through the forest, and this area here has actually been an old quarry. So there is like a massive hole down within this forest, and there is remains of what must have been old tracks when the quarry was in its original form. You can imagine the old trucks hauling the stone out of this big hollow down here, probably grafting as they came up the hill. And yeah, there's just, look at the scars in the land here, folks. Massive hollows between here and the other side, and then beyond there's another massive hole as well. Yeah, there's water sitting down in the bottom. At one time this has all been dug out, and it's cool just to hear that. Before we end the video here at the other side of this forest, it's cool just to speak about the quarry history in this area as well. And if you're ever on the Forfeit or Freecombe Road, that burial ground's actually in full view over at the left hand side. You might actually see it in the distance. And it's been on my places to go list for a long time, but I just didn't even know where to park to go and get into it. It's like there's been other stuff dumped here since the time of the quarry into the hole. I hear a tractor rolling by. That's a Renault tractor. You didn't see them very often around here, folks. Yeah, this is all dumped too. Look at this, folks. There's an old wall line leading up this ridge here with some massive stones in it. But this is the other huge quarry area here. The massive hole where it's been all dug out. Nowadays, look at the amount of stuff that's been tipped in it. Probably since like the 1960s or something. It's just been a dump. Wow, what a scene. Check it out, Highlanders pointing out this tree. There's absolute gunk running out of this thing. I think there must be a hole in it, and the water's going down the inside and rotting it out. And the water's literally running out that hole. Gungy. Oh aye, maybe that's pre-quarry. Kind of an old boundary line, or dike line, that led over the land, and then each side of it they've just dug out. So maybe at one time this was fields. It's interesting to theorise that and imagine the land before it was scarred so much by the quarry. Look at this tree here, folks. This is mad. Look, there's a tree growing up out the middle of the other two trees here. It's a triple tree. And then look, there's these boxes. It's a feeder box. Shout out if you come here and fill this feeder box up. It's cool to look after, like the squirrels and the wildlife that kick about. Proper soggy there, or spongy I should say. Yeah. The leaves are so deep in this area. They're like a foot deep or more. Wow, what an area, folks. We're always blown away by the wee corners of Scotland we end up in the middle of on the way to and from our other adventures. Check it out here, folks. We're on a different track to where we came in. Look, a stone circle here. People may have been camping. We've just come some random route into the forest, and it looks like at one time, look, there's another big hollow through there. It's like this has all been quarries. Same at that side. Wow, what a madness. We're going just kind of the general direction towards the car. So there we are, folks. We're actually back to the car, and it was such a cool wee adventure, seeing a bit of history we'd never seen. And until we literally pulled up at the road end here, we didn't even know what we were about to see and where we were going to go. What are you seeing? Oh, there's a stone tied to the tree with a bit of string. What does that signify, folks? Some madness. Yeah, you never know, like places like this, they're eerie. There's a lot in old quarries, you think, what is going on with that? Because so many years has passed since this was in its prime. Like, what day of the week does somebody come with a bit of string and a stain? Tie it to a tree. Anyway, folks, we're back to the car.
And they've made that hole in the stone.
It's been a fun adventure. We've documented that historical wonder that we had never seen before on the channel. It's cool to tell that story of the old cemetery, the ruins of the cemetery from the estate. I think because this is near the main road, like, folk dump a lot of stuff. Here's a grass box for a Black and Decker mower. Or it is a whole mower, look. That's what you get nowadays, folks. Lawnmowers and they're just made of plastic. They end up lying in a place like this, instead of the good old metal things that would rot away, at least if they were there. Anyway, I'm ending it here, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye from me. Goodbye from Highlander 87, and we'll catch you very soon for the next adventure, wherever we end up going.
You